Oops.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast.
We have an app.
You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, you should be, because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. My name is Wilson Horrell. I am one of your hosts. I would like to remind you that the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast is not censored, so listen at your own risk. Lift Heavy Run Long has an app, and we want you to be on it. You can go to www.liftheavyrunlong.com, click the Sign Up Now button, and you're welcome to use the Lift Heavy Run Long app free of charge. And what we will give you with that is a subscription to the Lift Heavy Run Long daily program, which is 3 bodyweight exercises delivered to your calendar every week, 4 barbell strength exercises, and 4 daily WODs. If you have specific programming in mind, for $19.99 per month, you can have access to all of the programs Lift Heavy Run Long has to offer, everything from 5K programs to 100-mile programs to Spartan races to triathlons. I have sitting next to my right the most beautiful woman in the world, and also my very, very best friend, Dr. Amanda Kimsey Horrell, jacked and tan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Never better. What's new in your world?
I have been running again.
I hear that.
And I CrossFitted today.
You did what?
I know, right?
CrossFit? You're not supposed to do that.
I know.
And you did like a little coaching too, huh?
I did. I took over for Vaughn.
Thank you.
Step on right back in.
Yeah, I coached too, and then did my own workout, and
Who'd
came
you,
here and ran a couple miles.
Who'd you run with?
You.
We did good, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, 4 miles almost?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Together, we held hands the whole time.
No, you did.
So,
She's not going to hold my hand. You kidding me? In public?
So believe it or not, I'm actually training for the marathon this year. I've never truly trained and followed a training plan. And so I'm following Kevin Leather's St. Jude Marathon training plan. And so far I'm on week 2 and I have followed everything. I've done actually a few more miles than probably he wants me to do, but I'm following it.
Is that something that he puts out for free?
Yes.
Yep.
And
what
he
is
has
it?
a half marathon.
If you're a
as well.
hero. It's like
You can get on there right
Is it
now.
anybody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What does that look like?
It's 18 weeks and it's running 1, 2, 3, it's 5 times a week.
Probably has some lifting
One
built
rest.
into it.
One rest day, which is usually Mondays, so I rested. And then Thursday is cross training. Yep. So,
Nice.
Okay.
long runs on the weekends.
I'll steal it and put it on the app. Say you did it.
Yeah. It's just to replace Kevin's name with my name.
That's right.
He'd probably be okay with that.
He would be fine with it. He knows nobody would pay attention anyway.
I'm sorry. I heard talking about. I started giggling when you said you were training for the marathon because it reminded me of a meme. Not because I was laughing at you, but I saw one that said, "This is the first year that I haven't run Boston Marathon because of COVID-19. Every other year it was because I didn't qualify."
I saw that. We have Dr. Brad Cole of Cole Pain Therapy Group joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for coming out here. We have enjoyed some visiting time before this, which has been nice. And you have established yourself as the CrossFit guy for injury, chiropractic. And if you ask anyone in the city that does CrossFit on any level and you say, my back hurts or something is bothering me,
Who would say that?
100% of them, yeah, that's right, will say, go to see Brad Cole.
It's been that way for a long time.
Yep.
Well, you guys are a really good community. We've got a good community, and I'm glad to be part of it.
But fortunately, so few people get hurt doing CrossFit
Correct.
that business has to be terrible.
Yeah.
No one ever comes. No one ever shows up.
We had to give them gas money to get over here.
It's tough. It's tough. It's been long and slow and difficult. But, yeah, it's not CrossFit. It's not exercise that hurts. It's sometimes you just don't do it quite right.
It's the person exercising.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
It's never the program. There's coaches in this room.
Yeah.
It's not the program.
It's not the coaches. It's the athlete or the person trying to be an athlete. We have the Reverend Vaughn Rawls
Hello.
looking fine.
Oh,
Man, you're getting finer every week.
Man, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look good. You look tan.
Well, that's because I sit by the pool for
Oh,
an
nice.
abnormal amount of hours on the weekend.
That'll
Yeah.
do it. I forgot to turn the damn fan off again, which
Well,
drove me
get up
crazy.
and go turn it off.
Man, your shirt is great. 2 weeks in a row, super fly shirt.
Oh.
Can't
Thank
see
you.
his shoes, but his shoes are pretty awesome.
Yeah,
too.
his shoes
Yeah.
are awesome.
I have 2 new pairs of shoes that are the most expensive shoes that I've ever worn in my entire life. I have no idea why I'm wearing them.
Probably
here
could have
to
bought
this-
a pair of earbuds instead.
I could have bought a couple of pairs.
Birthday week.
Oh, it is birthday week.
Yes,
Yes,
it
that's what I was going to
is.
say. It is Brian's birthday on Thursday. It is my birthday on Saturday.
Yep. How old y'all going to be?
45.
Woo! Almost 50, y'all.
Yep.
45, almost 50.
5 more years.
Downward
Man.
slope to 50.
Happy birthday, guys.
Thank you.
Y'all doing a running thing this
We're
year?
going to run. I need to clear some things up with Brian. Tomorrow we're going to have lunch.
Yeah,
And then I couldn't tell if you wanted to run Thursday and Saturday.
that's what we always do.
Okay, I know. But you had said, well, I'm not going to get into it. But
So here's the deal.
for some reason, I was under the impression that you only wanted to do one day.
No.
Okay.
You
so
said
I
you were
was-
going to be at the river,
Right.
so he couldn't run on Saturday.
Right. Okay.
And then I was making secret plans to come see you at the river.
Aw.
Ooh, look at
that
you.
is super
Those got canceled, so
Oh, that's a bummer.
You
That
can
would
tell-
have been cool.
you can check with your wife on that. I'd already been texting her about it.
Oh, that's cool. She told me we could.
'Cause that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We run
Yeah.
on my
Okay.
birthday.
That gets me all fired up.
Yeah.
So good.
So we're going to run twice.
Okay.
I'm going to get at least 9 miles in the month of June.
What is y'all's distance that you all are going for?
45 for
4.5.
4.5 miles for year 45.
That works.
We did 40. We did 40 on 40, and that was the last time we were doing that.
We might do 50 on 50.
We could
see
probably
if
do
we're-
50 on 50, but
I understand that.
We'll see if we're crazy then or not.
yeah.
Big Thirsty,
Yes, sir.
Brian Swanson.
How goes it?
Wonderful. How are you?
It's a Monday.
You've had a Monday, haven't you?
I've had quite the Monday.
Yeah, you
but,
got stuff blowing up, things leaking,
Yep.
not going well.
If anybody knows a good plumber.
When you have to shut the water off at the street, it's not good.
No, it's not.
never really a good thing.
No, it's not.
No.
If that's the solution that
Yeah.
to the problem,
If
you're
it's
having,
on the
like,
other side of the valve, it's just not nice.
I did that not too long ago, probably 6 months ago. One of my toilets was leaking from the valve at the wall,
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening right
and
now.
man, it just wouldn't stop, and I could not fix it. And finally, just had to turn the water off.
Did you have a plumber come out or what you did?
No, I fixed it.
But after you turned off the street at the water, or the water at the street, you
Yep. I needed a new. It was just the hose that was attached to the little thing. The valve had worn out, and I just went and replaced that.
thingamajig got a little loose.
Thingamajig
on the
stopped working and
doohickey.
would not stop leaking, and
Yeah,
at one
that's-
point was
that's
like,
where we're-
shh.
That's where we're at right now, which is why it was like, okay, we're just going to shut off the water at the street, and I'll deal with this when I get home later. So,
Yep.
anywho,
I was
it's on
in
Monday.
the irrigation business for a lot of years, and if it's on, depending on what side of the water meter is whoever's responsibility it is. And so there would be customers that were, they just see water coming up, and they don't know and they have to wait and see. We have to let us get out there, and we'll give you the news. But if it's bad news, it's really bad news.
So we had a main water line break from the meter to the house about 2 or 3 months ago, and funny little trick that the plumber used. He actually attached some kind of electricity to the water line, and then used 2 pieces of metal clothes hanger, and loosely holding them in his hands. And as he walked where the line was, when the 2 came together and crossed, that's where the break was in the line. And he dug one hole 2 feet wide and down 6 feet to the break, and dead on accurate. He knew where the break was.
Wow, that's
didn't have to tear up the whole yard.
Wow, that's like the redneck master.
Something. It was crazy. It was crazy though. So I'm sure there's a lot of cool tricks like that people know. But
Right.
One trick that's not cool at all is if you get into Midtown, things like that, and you go to put in the irrigation system, and when you go to tie in to the main water line, if it's made of lead, they have to replace the whole water line. So not only do you get to break them the news that, hey, you're about to spend, $7, $10, $20,000 on an irrigation system, but you're also about to spend an additional, 4 or 5 on a new water line.
that's one of those things that
Call me.
If it's not broke, we're going to leave it there. But as soon as you decide to do anything to it, then you got to bring it up to code.
Right.
Good times.
Which, of course, I did right away.
Do you ever just not notify the city that you're doing that?
I can't think of a single time.
I've never notified the city that I'm doing anything.
I got a question. It's a fashion question. Since I'm sitting next to
Oh my God!
Senior
You're gonna ask
fashion
a
over here.
question?
Yeah, I need to know this. Amanda,
Crocs are still not cool.
Amanda,
And camo
I'm
shorts
past
aren't
that.
cool either.
I'm beyond you guys with all of this. This is a new question. Is it inappropriate to button the top button of a button down?
Depends on.
This shirt.
No, don't button the top.
Don't.
button.
Why? Why not?
Just don't.
It looks better.
Because you're not like a 15-year-old angst teenage skateboarder.
Oh, is that what that looks?
I don't know. You're not like the dude from Beastie Boys or the guy from Gleaming the Cube that had the top button that was like had the half pipe in his bedroom.
So only you would have said I could do it if I was one of those 2 guys? Is there 2 guys
I
that are
think
allowed
so.
to do that?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
only like a few.
Brad, do you
what's
have an
the-
opinion? Can you
would
do the
not.
top? You would not.
What's the guy? Everlast?
I'm not Everlast either.
Everlast. If you were Everlast, you could probably do that.
Okay, those 3 guys. I'm not out any of those.
Do you
Henry
associate
Rollins
with
could
any
probably
of
do
those
that.
guys?
Everybody is saying don't do it.
They are?
Yep.
Who's everybody?
Melissa and Katie.
Okay. That's close enough.
That's all our listeners.
Steve Wilk. Is Steve listening?
He's listening. Yes.
What?
Steve, don't do it.
God dang it. All right, I won't do it. Unless I can find somebody else.
Were you thinking about this
Oh,
like
gosh.
all week?
Yeah,
Going, I
today.
really want to button
This mor-
my
today.
top
He's-
button.
he was buttoning it,
problem
and
is
I was telling him no.
there's chest hair issues involved.
Okay,
And some
trim 'em.
some of these things are more wide than others, and I think I can just kind of instead of tugging at the back
You could
of
do
it.
like the Steve Carell and just wax part of it, like 40-year-old virgin style.
Or just let it grow, man. I thought that was like a cool thing.
just
to
have the
chest hair.
pet spider.
You know what you
crawling
should
around.
do?
Ew.
You should get a gold necklace, and that would just make it even cooler.
I'm not opposed to a
With
gold
the-
necklace.
with the
I had
hair.
one when I was young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet you did.
Katie
I had
said-
an earring,
Katie
too.
says trim it.
Thank you. Yeah, he's got trimmers.
Trim the spider.
Trim the spider. That's how you keep it from scaring the children.
Boy.
Thank God for this podcast, or I wouldn't be half as fashionable as I am. Right now.
But here's the thing. It sounds like people are just affirming the advice your wife was giving you. So
Which is usually the case. So you should
maybe
probably-
just start there.
next
just
time-
just
he
stop and
doesn't
start
listen.
with Amanda.
He doesn't listen.
I just want to be sure.
Where were we? Where I was getting out of the car telling you do not button the top of your Walgreens.
Yeah.
I was getting out to go into Walgreens, and you were really trying at that point to really
I
button
could
it.
see Wilson walking around Walgreens and being like, "What do you think? Should I button it?" Like random people, button it, don't button it. What do you think? What? I'm taking a poll.
What do you think? Where are your Reese's peanut butter cups? I'm kidding. I know where they are.
Oh, Katie says you could also braid it if you don't want to trim it.
Oh,
Braid the chest hair. All right. GFO. He got hurt. Gary Owens got hurt this week.
He
Yep,
got
yep.
hurt?
Yeah, he twisted his ankle.
Oh, no.
He was going to come walk with me today,
Oh.
and he wasn't able to do that because he got hurt. So we need to make
Did
more
he go to the
t-shirts.
grocery store?
Did he go to the grocery store?
Did
Remember,
wear
he
it?
said he wasn't going to be able to go to the grocery store.
I don't think he could. He was too injured.
So he really was that injured.
Yeah. Well, I mean, injured enough to. He wasn't too injured to go drink beer at the ale house or wherever. They
I
Yeah,
don't
he's
think you're
watching.
ever too injured enough to do that.
Yeah.
Watching.
I mean, that
That
makes
may help.
everything-
That
That
may
was
heal
helping.
them.
That was
makes
helping.
everything
That's
better.
recovery fluid.
That's what I told him. I said it looks like the swelling is going down. I would continue doing what you're doing. So he's probably still there.
He's listening. I was kind of waiting for him to say something.
Well, he canceled his run on me, and it hurt because I was really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm sorry I wasn't good enough.
Well, that was not what I was saying. at all.
Oh, no. Get a shovel.
Dr. Cole,
Sir.
Mississippi State University. That's where you graduated.
Mm-hmm.
What a fine place.
Yeah.
I think very highly of it. As I told you, I was there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite make it as far as you did, but on any level,
Really?
apparently. But it was really a good place to be. When you left Mississippi State, at what point did you get into being a chiropractor?
Well, we were both in the business school at Mississippi State,
That's right.
which is an excellent institution. And, yep. So definitely we're both good products of Mississippi State Business School.
I agree.
But yeah, after that, went on to Logan University in St. Louis.
Immediately went there?
No, I took a year off because my wife was in physical therapy school in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay.
So I bided my time while she was studying hard. I was playing rugby and delivering pizza and working at the bank and mixing concrete and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Odd jobs and time wasting while she spent all that time studying. So
Mixing concrete will make a man out of you.
I mixed it a little bit then. Gotta protect my chiropractic hands.
So then you went to Logan, and
Yeah.
how long were you there?
Yeah, it's a 10 semester or trimester program.
Okay.
So basically about 4 years
Uh-huh.
by the time you start and graduate.
And then when did you start a practice?
April 2008.
April 2008. Was there CrossFit, and were you doing it at that point in time?
Yeah, actually there was CrossFit back then.
It would have been early.
What city
Yeah.
were you in?
So that was, I started CrossFit in St. Louis.
Okay.
When I was at school, they had a gym, of course, the student rec center. So we'd pull some wads off of the CrossFit main site, of course.
All right.
2007, 2008. It dovetailed nicely because I was playing rugby also at the time, and rugby and functional fitness go hand in hand. But yeah, doing power cleans with octagonal plates and throwing med balls outside against the basketball goal. It was it was
Nice.
messy.
Power cleans with octagonal plates. I don't think that it's hard to imagine how crappy that really is.
It was ugly. Oh, yeah, very ugly. Yeah.
The same way that it's hard to imagine how you take
Especially
for-
when you're trying to cycle them and stuff like that. It seems
Yeah,
like putting it
come
down.
down.
Cycle? What? How does this even work? It was just bouncing off my thighs. Yeah, hacking through it, trying to figure it out. First time we did Murph was used a football, post for pull-ups.
Oh, wow.
But it was like the little pee-wee version, so it wasn't like a full, full big bar. But
Yeah.
it's messy.
In the early days of
All about the
CrossFit,
effort.
along with your octagonal plates,
Yeah.
did your bars rotate, or was it one welded solid?
You know what? After
Yeah.
I actually started lifting with a bar that rotates, I then realized that previously they did not rotate very well.
I did the opposite, and I was at ATC and went to do a power clean, and I thought both of my wrists were just going to
Sprained both
snap
wrists
off
at once.
right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess when I was in high school and lifting weights, they didn't rotate. Is that a fairly new thing? Is that a CrossFit thing?
I'm just hoping that
It's
the equipment evolves with our understanding of how to use it.
I imagine in Olympic weightlifting, the bar is probably always
Always did.
rotated.
I think that's part of the difference between the $80 bar that you get at Walmart
And the Eleiko bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
besides the decimal point. Yeah.
or maybe it's like a strongman powerlifting thing where the bars don't rotate. Because I feel like the bars rotate because of Olympic lifting.
Correct.
So, anyway.
All right. So then, in your being a chiropractor, that runs, I would say it runs in tandem with CrossFit, but I also feel like most chiropractors would tell you not to do CrossFit, or doctors, or it seems like people that you run into say you're just going to hurt yourself doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
It was obviously beneficial to you to say, continue doing CrossFit and take care of yourself.
I think a lot of it has to do with, it was an interest of mine. So as I was finishing up with chiropractic, I started a program in sports science, a master's degree in sports science. And I finished that up here in Memphis, doing an internship at the University of Memphis through Logan University. So that was, so it kind of dipped into some sports science there too, and then got certificate in strength conditioning through the NSCA. So that's when I learned like how the bar is actually supposed to rotate and what power cleans are supposed to look like, things like that. So that was an interest of mine. And then I think the philosophy a lot of times with chiropractic is, and then a lot of medicine also, but especially in those disciplines where you follow the patient all the way through, like primary care, is where you also want to help the patient meet their goals. And so what I saw early on with CrossFit was that these CrossFitters are coming in, and their goal, I'm not having to push them to become more active. Their goal is to get back to what they want to do with those CrossFit endeavors or running endeavors. So it lined up really nicely because they're asking me, hey, how do I keep doing what I want to do? Like, how do I fix this thing? Which is great because this is, that's what I'm all about. Not just, diagnose and medicate or, go sit down and take anti-inflammatories and take a month off,
Right.
But rather, activating someone back to, meeting their goals.
That was the thing I always appreciated about coming to see you. The fact that you had the CrossFit background. I could say like, oh yeah, I think I pulled something doing a deadlift, and you're like, oh yeah, I could see that. And you could also, while you're fixing me, tell me what I probably did wrong to hurt myself in the first place, and what I should be watching for to not do that again. And and it just it's nice to go to any kind of a doctor who understands what you're doing on a daily basis to your body, and isn't trying to tell you not to do it, but trying to tell you how to do it better and safer and that kind of a thing. So that's definitely the thing that I've appreciated most about
Well, yeah,
come to see you.
Listening and understanding is such an important part of that. And what I've appreciated also is talking to some of these ultra runners too, and listening to what they're describing with running. And I don't know if I understand what's going on there, but certainly listening and trying to see it from their perspective. But a lot of these functional movements with CrossFits, it's also rehabilitative, right? So if someone needs to reach up overhead, deadlift, I mean those are basic human movements, squat. And so if someone can't do that correctly, or if it's if there's some movement and balance that's preventing them from doing so correctly, it's going to be a squeaky wheel at some point, and then it's going to start getting a bit noisier, and they're going to develop some inflammation and symptoms. But if you tweak to how it moves, then it starts working appropriately for them again.
Do you see a lot of ultra runners?
Not so much. I was thinking about that when from. Yeah, some, yes, for sure.
Me?
The ultra running community is huge. It's absolutely huge. And then you just dial it back to the normal marathon community, right? And that's a lot of people. But in general, I think runners are pretty good with listening to their bodies, and it's obviously it's also monomodal. It's straightforward. Mm-hmm. And so when people are going to come in, runners, they come in with with problems, not so much from running too much, but from probably not doing other stuff. They're not doing lunges and squats and single leg step ups.
Really, you're a big believer in that.
Yeah, and it's tough medicine for the running community. right? But if you just do a little bit, sometimes those cross-training solutions can go a long way.
Do you think that heavy weight is more beneficial than, say, body weight stuff?
Definitely. Stronger.
Really?
Stronger is better.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm of a strong first mindset when it comes to human movement. Stronger is always better.
And not to put you on the spot, but you're not saying like everybody needs to work up to a 400-pound deadlift, but
to get the T-shirt, I think. That's the standard.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like you say, stronger is better. There's obviously stronger than the typical runner is probably better, but not necessarily
and
to the level that we take it to.
Stronger is more of a training philosophy too.
Right.
It's not about let me hit a certain goal now I'm good, but rather there needs to be some progressive, judicious loading over time to increase someone's physical capacity, right? And this is the same thing when I'm talking to firefighters and they've got their job capacity is varied. It's all over the place, right? But if they train just beyond their job capacity, then they're ready for it, right? If there's someone who wants to be able to carry their groceries and stand up and down from a chair well into older age, they've got to train outside that capacity to be able to do that. And that's where strength comes in. People don't run out of capacity by, not being able to go a certain mile longer. There's a lot to running for sure, but people run out of capacity when they run out of muscle mass later on in life, when they run out of strength later on in life. So if we're prioritizing strength, I think it's a good thing for people in general.
That's really interesting, and it all made sense to me. Like you did a very good job of explaining that. Wow. You obviously do that for a living. You probably do that for a living. You should
talk to people.
You talk to people who aren't real bright, probably a lot of times, like myself, that don't soak in information very easily. Do you see that most of the injuries that you treat, are they more like I did something and I hurt myself, or are they more over the course of time, something that could have been coached or addressed or fixed?
Yes, it's certainly the second. We see a lot of, those ballistic things, but usually it's not the sock was too heavy when I bent over to pick it up, It's really surprising for a lot of people because they'll be sidelined a lot of times with pain that they have never felt in their life before, and it's really scary. They're somebody who's living normally, has a family and a job, and now they can't stand up straight. All of a sudden, it's a really scary situation. They think, what in the world happened? Because they didn't fall out of a tree, they didn't get hit by a truck. Something's going wrong, and so. My first job is to figure out what's going wrong, and then usually it's something that's not dangerous, and then we can talk about some solutions and put that we call it locus of control. It's basically like the control back on to the individuals, like back to the individual, so they can figure out ways that they can actually make it better. I mean, I'm there to help out and guide on. I'm there to provide some manual treatment support, but every individual that has a pain problem needs to have some ownership over that and be able to manage it and to get those tools.
Do you have a nutritional philosophy that you prescribe to more than others? Yeah.
I used to be a bit more stringent about it, but anti-inflammatory nutrition is huge. And if you're gonna the deflame nutrition, anti-inflammatory, and so this is fun in the endurance community because sometimes it's more carbohydrate based. But I tell people, if you're feeling inflamed, like if you take Advil and it makes you feel better, congratulations, that's a test. It's a diagnostic test that lets you know that normally you're inflamed and that most of your aches and pains are coming from extra inflammation. And the best way to deflame is to cut down on your processed carbohydrates and your sugar. If you do that, it's 80% better just by doing that alone. Mm-hmm. And if you're one of those people that's already doing that, now it's a bit more complicated, and there's not going to be one prescription that meets all of your goals. You've got to dig into it a bit more.
Yeah, I am definitely not one of those people that's already doing that.
So you don't need a giant plan. You don't need a book. You don't need
a pizza.
Degree.
You don't need a pizza?
He needs a peanut butter jar and spoon.
I need a spoon, a jar, and
The plan has to be simple. If it doesn't fit on a Post-it note, it's too complicated.
the question that I was talking with Amanda today is are there certain things that, okay, last year I ran Silmore, and during Silmore I felt great. I felt better than I have in a long time. And leading up to Silmore, I had stopped, I'd eaten almost no meat. I wasn't like going vegetarian or vegan or anything like that. I just cut out meat for a while, and I felt really good. And then after that, I stayed pretty much that same course. And then I got back on the meat wagon, so to speak. And it seemed like my cramps and my calves and my ankles and whatnot came back. Will meat do that? Is that like a gout thing or an acid thing?
Meat doesn't do that for everybody. All right. You've heard of the all meat diet? Yeah. Apparently you're an exception. Right. So, yeah, outside of the carbohydrates, the refined carbohydrates and the sugars, that applies to most everybody. It's got to apply to everybody. Beyond that, you're eating meat and vegetation, right? Some nuts, a little bit of fruit, very little sugar.
This sounds
I've heard this
Yes.
before.
It's I imagine it's hard to answer that question too, because he doesn't know everything else you were eating besides meat.
Is
You know what I mean?
Everything.
Is that the all meat pizza?
Right. So it's like, yes, I quit eating meat and everything.
And continued eating the same way I do everything
Right. I don't
else.
know anything
So there
else
was
that you're
something
eating.
that was cut out, which is my question.
Well, and it
Right.
could very well be meat too. Like you just might not do as well on meat. You might do well on massive amounts of vegetation alone.
Well, and that's the question. Not what was my problem, doc, but is that something, is meat something that will cause, can you have like a small amount of gout that will act up?
Not really. I mean, gout's just really going to affect like the great toe first.
How come you know this answer now? And
She
you
knows.
just
I
got
answered
lunch
you and
today?
told you gout was in the
already
joints because
told
it
ya.
crystallizes the fluid in your joints. Don't even start with me on
She was
that.
like, talk to
to the-
Brad. Talk
back
to
to
Dr.
the-
I did not say that.
Listen to your
I don't know. Talk to Dr. Cole.
Yeah, I think Amanda's perfectly right. It's going to start.
Talk to you.
It's going to start as a toe issue. Yeah. I mean, gout can cause other issues too, but it's first going to show up as a lot of toe pain.
Yeah. Do you see back pain more than anything else?
Yes. Yeah, I think.
Is that
'cause
just the nature of being a chiropractor, you think? Or?
I think so, because as soon as I say chiropractor, everyone starts to kind of rub their back and say, "Dang."
So what's crazy
That hurts.
though is after I started going to him for my back, then I realized like he really helps me with my running. He helps me with my legs, my feet.
Yep.
I happened to mention something about my foot one day, not even thinking he could do that because it wasn't my back. He was like, "Can I look at it?" Sure. He pulled out some dry needle. He dry needled me. I never had that done before. I didn't even know I could do it. And then so now, I mean, he takes care of legs, back, everything, shoulders, arms, and I just never really thought a chiropractor could do that. And total.
I'm
Yeah.
sure no other
Yep.
chiropractors can do that. It's just Dr. Brad Cole.
It is only him. So you need to go see him.
You got to go see Brad Cole.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of good doctors in the Memphis area too. But yeah, and that's kind of hard to communicate with. Do we look at the movement system? That doesn't really resonate well with people. Nerve, muscle, joint docs. Yeah, that fits some. And there's a wide variety of different chiropractic specialties too, and people like to focus on. So I've got colleagues that only focus on spine. Some colleagues that only work in multidisciplinary settings, and they only do neurological assessments. I've got other colleagues that only focus on nutrition and wellness coaching, and they all have the same, postgraduate degree in chiropractic, but they specialize in different things. So,
How long has dry needling been around?
so like the main crux of it started in the 50s, and so a dry needle is a needle in which there's no injected medication.
Oh, okay.
Right, and so Travell and Simons wrote this 2-volume set, this massive tome on dry needle technique and the presentation. This is what makes the dry needling fun: is that if there's a muscle knot, a specific trigger point, it's not just a sore point. It's a neurologically active knot in the muscle. that refers pain in a unique way. And it's very stereotypical. And so you can look at a pain chart and have a good idea about which muscles might be involved with some myofascial pain or dry needles. So, or trigger points. And so you use the needle to elicit a twitch from the muscle. And it started back when they're trying to figure out what medications would be best to inject in a knot, and realized that if you just put the syringe through the knot and causes some twitching of the muscle, then that's a massively beneficial therapeutic effect. And fortunately, the acupuncture size of needles are a lot more tolerated than a syringe. So.
Well, I don't think anything exists until I hear of it. And I would have said that dry needling started about 3 years ago with CrossFit.
Which started when? Yeah, about 5 years ago.
About the day before I started.
Of course, yes.
The dry needling, when you perform that's a weird thing. And it's
weird.
a great feeling thing. Well, actually, I've had a few different experiences, but I've had it done where I felt like immediately, this is great. Like, this feels wonderful. And then I've had it done where it wasn't as dramatic. But when you're actually performing it, do you know, like, this person's going to feel significantly better after this versus somebody else that you might say, I don't really know that I got the right spots, or I don't really know that was the problem?
Yeah. Like in the assessment, I like to have a really good idea about someone's response, and I'm honest about what that response might be. And so usually within 1 or 2 treatments, you're going to have some type of beneficial effect if we're working on the right pain generating problem. So yeah, you should get some pretty good benefit. I think the biggest relief that people have initially is the realization that I described the pain problem, someone listened to me, they put their finger on the spot that hurts, and then the treatment, I know that got to the pain site. Because in most cases, after the fact, you could be pretty sore with a needle therapy, and that soreness just means that you treated the right spot. And so some people are really sore, some people are not much, not very sore at all. It really depends on the person.
How often do you go into it not really sure if dry needling is going to do anything or not, but you got to do something?
Pretty rarely. In the assessment, you should have a really good idea about if it's going to go well or not. Except Amanda, I think we were chatting earlier, and you had an interesting presentation of some leg pain, and I was honest. I was like, I have 50-50. I don't know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, and it ended up working. So now I want the other leg done.
There you go. But yeah, that's pretty rare. But if it's we call it a therapeutic trial. It's a fancy way for any doctor to say we're going to try and see what happens.
It's a relief that you said that some people are sore, because I was crazy sore after that, and I was like, oh God, what'd I do? And the next day I was like, this is great.
Fixed it. Yeah,
so,
got to it. Yeah. Some people are pretty sore. But not all the time. And there's other options too. If someone has some type of myofascial pain, there's other ways to treat the trigger point other than using a needle. Not everyone's a candidate.
Well, you said that you treat yourself.
Yeah.
Is that odd? Does that work as well?
I'm like, people get on
Wouldn't you be
lacrosse
hesitant
balls.
to-
People get on foam rollers, and people stretch and try to treat themselves all the time. I'm no different.
Well, but a lacrosse ball is different than a needle.
It is.
I mean, isn't that scary?
You have to know
Do you ever
that.
have to get like your wife to come in here and hit this needle?
You wouldn't do it for fun, but no, actually, speaking of, you mentioned that, and I had a trigger point at the back of my shoulder, and I was picking up my wife. She's a physical therapist, but she works in pediatrics, and she's not interested in any type of needle on her end, like delivering any
using it
treatment.
or
using it,
receiving it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, so she gets treated infrequently. You know how it is with your spouse. So treated infrequently, and she's got to really be suffering. And I'm usually still in trouble, even though she's feeling better. But anyway, so I say, look, just get it right here. And she said, no, I'm not going to do that at all. I'm not going to do that. You make me sick. And so what I did was I stuck the needle in right there, but I couldn't reach it enough to maneuver it, because you need to maneuver the needle in and out a bit to elicit the twitch. And so I stuck it in. I was like, look, I can't pull it out now. I can't reach it anymore. So you can leave it there. You can just. And so she helped me out, but she said, don't ever do that again. So.
Do you just carry needles with you everywhere that you go? I mean, I'm sure that people all the time
He's
are like,
about to do a demonstration.
hey, Dr.
Does
Cole,
anybody have any
listen,
needles?
I've had this thing that's been bothering me. Like, can you?
Yeah, and in my kit of this personal stuff with my, with my shaved kit if I'm traveling, just in case. You never know. Like you get a calf cramps up on a run when you're traveling. You never know. Just be ready.
Just constantly diagnosing people.
And I will say
trail draw needling.
They do consistently get through TSA without any problem at all. I've never had a problem. So.
Do you do any running?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, run a little bit.
What's a little bit?
5K max. Or one of my favorite runs is to set a 15 or 20 minute timer and just do an out and back. I have no idea how far I'm going. Just get out.
15, 20 minutes one way, turn around. Once you hit that,
Come
turn
on
around,
back.
run back. And you do that, I'm assuming, at a pretty high intensity as opposed to.
Hard and fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the.
Otherwise I get bored.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
CrossFit way of doing things.
Exactly
like
right.
when I asked you if you ran, then as we discussed earlier, that could mean in CrossFit that could mean I run 200 meters at a time.
Yeah,
And
200
that's
meters.
it.
Yeah.
Anything
Well, and he
longer
knows he's sitting in a room of ultra runners, so that's why he said a little bit. You know,
I've got
he's got to qualify it. You know, it's like, in a room of 5Kers, he's like, yeah, I'm a runner. You know, but with ultra runners, he's like, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, my longest was a half marathon. That was a while back though.
How long ago was that?
About 5 years maybe.
I imagine you probably run those things pretty fast, huh?
I try to go hard and fast, but 13 miles is a long way.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
No interest to go any further than that.
After talking to you guys and looking at this community, I'm
We have that
interested.
effect on people.
Oh,
Yeah,
God,
you need
Wilson's
to-
going to sign up for Tunnel Hill.
Now that I know I don't have to hold up my half marathon pace for
No, you
50
don't.
miles.
No.
You don't.
Now I understand that.
No.
No, we allow 47-minute miles. In this
There's nothing. There's nothing hard and fast.
I have
about it.
achieved that.
Accepting. I love it.
I have achieved that. So, to your standards, one of his runs, I would have gotten less than half a mile.
That's right.
I had a 42-minute mile
42. Sorry.
at one point in time. That was a single forward moving mile. Anyway,
Did your Garmin break? What is that?
it wasn't. It was things were breaking. Things were breaking all around me.
The watch was fine.
The watch was. it was plenty accurate. No, I'm not disputing the accuracy of the watch. Yeah, you should sign up for some of the stuff and get involved in the running community.
20. Have you done any trail races?
Not official, no.
Okay. Just curious, because like a 25K, like a lot of these races, have 50K. They have a 25K option also.
Stanky Creek.
That's a half marathon, and those are fun.
I got lost on Stanky Creek once. I ran further than I wanted to. So there's that.
A lot of people have done that.
Yeah, it's
A lot of people in this
difficult.
room have probably done it. Or at least one person in this room.
Which is so easy to do considering it's one big square and you're never more than like
I figured
30 yards from civilization. But you can get really trapped
Well,
up.
those inner loops are hard to.
Yeah.
I kept pulling the same loop over and over again, and then I took a different route.
I kept
to
taking the
exit.
same
And
left.
I ended up in the same time. Yeah.
I just kept taking the same left over and over again.
I've
You
ne-
need to do the walking tall 25K or 50K in October.
October. Okay.
Yeah, that's very well put together.
And
It's-
that is still on officially.
that's
that
a
is
good.
gonna happen?
Probably I
Hey,
should.
Sean's watching. Sean, are y'all still on?
I'm really curious about these races and if they're going to start letting people. I'm really curious about St. Jude.
Yeah.
Well, I got an email from
All of it-
them.
all
So
of
far,
it's-
so good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we were joking about the Boston Marathon earlier. So Boston Marathon was supposed to happen in March or April, I guess. It got moved to September. They've already canceled the September race because they're sure that the second surge is going to be occurring, and they just don't want to bring people together. So
Tell me that again. It was originally when?
it's
It's usually in April.
It's
or
usually in
February.
April,
And-
February, March, April.
yeah.
Okay.
That's when it is every year. It's called Patriots Day, and
I didn't realize they pushed it to September. I thought they canceled the whole
no,
thing.
they originally, when it didn't happen, then they pushed it to September, and it was just like in the last 2 or 3 weeks that they finally just said,
Interesting.
we're not doing the 2020 race.
Yeah. I heard that they were canceling the Tour de Spirit 24-hour race already, which
Who told you that?
That's kind of wild because there's not a lot of people there,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Well,
at
but
least
the-
it didn't
but-
feel
but-
like there was a
No,
lot of
there's
people
But
not.
there.
in the campsites, there's a lot of camaraderie going on, and so that's the challenge with all these. Like it depends on where you fall, like on what your responsibility as a race director is. It's like, and if you feel like you shouldn't create an opportunity for people to hang out within 6 feet of each other, then a race like Tour de Spree probably shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
If COVID is still an issue at that time.
Right.
But there are other race directors that, like I could see like a walking tall, like they could easily modify that race and say, we're going to do, it's basically like wait in your car until 10 minutes before your wave starts. And we're going to send 10 runners out every
Staggered
10
race time.
minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, 20 minutes into the race, you're not going to see anybody
you're
anyways.
spread
That's a good
out.
point. I never thought about that.
So there is ways that they could stagger things out, but then the post-race party becomes an issue. So it's like, okay, here's your award, but we're not doing beer or burritos this year.
Oh,
because
no.
we don't want
Man.
because we don't want you
Beer
to hang
burrito
out.
to go.
Yes.
Or to go, yeah, but we just don't want you to hang out because
Right.
social distancing.
Sean's not watching anymore. He hadn't answered, I guess.
Have
So-
you done anything different for your practice because of all this? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you had to do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, when it all started with the uncertainty, we started spreading people out and pushing back those less critical things. And now we're hand washing between each visit, cleaning the rooms. There's no more waiting in the waiting room, which
So you're waiting in the car now, or
it's not waiting at all. We spread
They
people
pull us
out.
back.
Oh.
So as soon as you show up, as soon as you walk in, you go straight back to a private room, really. So, but I think there's some, some of these have been some built-in efficiencies, that you've, I think, looking is going to stick around.
That's the funny thing to me. Taking it out of the context of a doctor's office,
Yeah.
but the way this has changed how people are working, remotely and stuff like that, I think it'll be interesting to see how many of the things that have gone into effect as a result of this will stay in place because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this big disruption changes things, and people, kind of reset to a different default.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be some better efficiencies and better way things are done.
Well, and it's the kind of thing that like some businesses were probably afraid to try some of the things, but they were
Right.
forced to do it because of the virus, and now they're like, that actually worked really well, so we'll keep doing that. It's like a lot of businesses doing like curbside pickup. Even though they're open, but you're allowed to dine in there, they're still offering curbside pickup. And I mean that may just still be because of the virus, but I just see that being a long-term thing that people are doing.
Yeah, and once they're forced to get efficient doing that, then they could be like, hey, this isn't so bad.
Yeah,
We can continue doing this.
yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the way it's going to be with working from home, too.
Oh, I think, and this is kind of an ongoing conversation with work people and stuff like that, but commercial real estate's going to take a big hit over the next 2 to 3 years because there's a lot of businesses that are going to embrace, remote working. And so instead of needing 10,000 square feet of space so that they have a desk or place for a desk for every employee, they're going to say, who wants to work from home? Okay, so now we only need 2,500 square feet because we just need core staff in the office to do support stuff, but everybody else can work from home and that kind of a thing. So,
Well, but I think that that's going to be what's interesting and both positive, because we make things like that positive. For universities, that will be something that they could take a hit. It'll obviously make it different, but that's what we do to make things better. We see things like that, and then we find out where we can benefit from that or see the opportunity in it, and that's how we continue to evolve. And then we look back and we're like, I can remember back when we had to go to school to get our degree. And we boast about how it was harder or it was better then. And I think that the changes that come about this are going to be interesting, not bad or drastic or anything like that. I think it's going to be fun and neat.
I agree.
It doesn't make you doesn't make it any easier if you're on the side of real estate, or if you're on the side of being the president of a university or whatever that is. But I do think that the changes that come about are going to be changes that were supposed to come about. And we were just forced into realizing what those things were. It is kind of curious, like, why the hell did I used to have to wait so long to do something? Well, you walk into a office and, oh yeah, you can go on through because we can't have you all sitting here. Well, why didn't we not ever have us all sitting here and let me in at my appointment time to begin with?
But the magazines are there. You have to get the full experience.
Right.
You are paying for those magazines. So.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
The coffee
Touché.
and the water and the magazines.
October 2016 Men's Health.
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't feel like the whole experience if you're not waiting.
That's true. That's very true. That's true.
Yeah, I do miss the cold chiropractic video that comes up on their screen when it flips through the.
It's still
slideshow.
rolling, but no one sees it.
Yeah.
I think
You got to put it on YouTube so everyone can watch.
I think the waiting room probably took pressure off the doctors, because it's like you're so excited when they finally get into the room that they don't have to wow you. It's just
right.
And now Brad's got to up his game.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
A whole new bag of tricks. Now he's doing like
worth
magic.
getting out the car
stuff.
for. Yeah.
Comes back there. Do you love what you do?
Oh, it's a blast. I do. Yeah.
Do you really?
Uh-huh.
Are you constantly like into it, like learning is there new stuff that comes out all the time, or is that something that you just perfect?
Yeah. Well, in general, just across healthcare, we understand so very little about the human bodies as it is. I mean, so everyone that comes in, it's not like as soon as you look at a case and say, I got this, it's simple, straightforward. I know exactly what they need. You've lost it, because you need to come into it with a high level of skepticism about, what's going on in the first place, right? And you need to have the patient's needs there too, because you have to talk to them and see what their goals are in the first place. And every day that makes it fun, because people are coming with problems, and we're there to help them out. I was talking to my staff this morning about it, and we have meetings every morning, which sounds terrible to most, but it's just a couple minutes just to check in, make sure everybody's good to go for the day. And just this morning, it's your gratitude that sets your attitude. Just be grateful for what's going on, and every problem has a solution. Like with the whole shutdown and COVID restructuring, there's a solution in every problem. So being grateful every day.
Believe that.
Do you have people that come in without pain that go, I can't press a barbell over my head. What's wrong with me? Like, can we figure this out?
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. Or
if people are really in tune, like some CrossFit, some yoga, other movement-based people, dance. They'll come in and they don't have an active pain problem yet, but they say this isn't working right. And that's a lot of fun, because that's on the end of the spectrum. There's not many orthopedic tests. Orthopedic tests are for seeing what's broken, and they're coming in, they're not even painful yet. So we do these functional tests to see how things are moving, and if they're in the dance or yoga, their movement range is off the spectrum, right? And so we have to get a really just break it down, listen to them, and have them explain what's going on. And people that are coming like that, they're really in tune with their bodies, and so we can help to get things moving appropriately again.
People, I'm assuming, know what they're walking into when they get there, or do you have people that come in and say, I just think I need like 360 Percocet to get me, with the pain therapy? I mean, there's got to be people that assume you're a pain clinic on the narcotic side of things.
My staff on the front end is really good at helping those people to not waste their time.
Really?
Yeah. I asked him, I said, how do you know that they're just looking for Percocets? And she's like, if you answer the phone all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I hear him and I say, well, Dr. Cole's a chiropractor. He focuses on exercise solutions for your pain. And it's a very short conversation at that point. So
yeah. Wow.
But yeah, people come in with all different types of assumptions, and this personal referrals are they come in already understanding what's going on a lot of time, and so we can we can help them out. But people come in with all different types of concerns. some people just want a diagnosis, and that's a lot of fun too. We can, diagnose it and tell them how to, work on it on their own, or diagnose it and get them into the right specialists elsewhere too.
Well, we discussed that before the show, and I thought it was interesting, your take on that you were perfectly okay with that and encouraged just people to find out what's wrong with them. Because, when I have things wrong with me, sometimes I'm so neurotic that the relief is in just finding out what the problem is.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's a problem, and I need somebody to tell me there's a problem and find out what it is. And I guess that most of your work, I'm just assuming that most of the people that you see, do you see them on a recurring basis, or do you have a lot of come in and we snap you up and you're gone?
It depends on on two things: the diagnosis and then the patient's goals too. So as I was talking to somebody today, they said, "Hey, after I get this under control, is this something that should I come back regularly, or how should we do this?" And I said, "Well, it's up to you. You can come back for a checkup periodically, or you could just see how you feel and come back and call me when you need me too. But either way, we'll help you out."
What percentage of people just walking around would benefit from getting cracked?
Yeah. So I suppose you mean some type of chiropractic treatment, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Isn't that the medical term for it?
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't mean to talk over anybody's head.
Side note: if you've not watched the Simpsons episode on chiropractic, just Google it, and it'll summarize everything that you need to know. It's absolutely great. I show it. I teach them some continuing education. I always show it. It's great. Yeah. So, if you're walking around and you think, "Wow, I would do X, but my blank hurts," right? So you're basically changing your behavior and avoiding meaningful activity because of a pain. Go ahead and take care of that. Do something about that. If you realize that, wow, I buy most of my Advil at Costco because it comes in a 5-gallon bucket, right? And I can make sure that I have a low dose of anti-inflammatories all the time, so I'm not in pain. I call it a poor long-term solution, right?
So do your kidneys.
Yes. Yeah. As the pharmacist has an opinion on that, I'm sure. So yeah, that's one of those poor long-term
Kidneys will
solutions.
take a beating.
Yeah. So I'm not out to convince somebody they have a problem that they don't have. I'm not going to tell people to come get treatment for something that that's not consistent with their goals. But I do encourage people, hey, if you're conceding meaningful activity because of something that you don't really know how to manage well, then look into it. There's all kinds of options, but go ahead and, I want to encourage people to take some ownership over that. And it doesn't have to be a big surgical solution in most cases if you're functioning pretty well. Usually if you just, get the diet a little bit better, or, listen to your coach a bit more about that mobility thing, then it's usually enough to help you turn the corner.
Assuming that you don't own a place called Cold Pain Therapy Group, and you're at a cocktail party with 20 people.
Yes.
If you said, "All right, everybody get down on the floor, I'm going to crack all your backs," how many of those people would say, "I feel better because of that"?
How many cocktails have we had?
No, seriously. What percent of people would feel better just from coming in and having their...
Yeah. So I'll put it this way. So everyone in my family gets some type of chiropractic treatment, gets a chiropractic adjustment with some regularity. And it's usually my kids come up to me and say, like, it hurts right here. It hurts my neck, or I've had a headache or something. If they're supposed to be doing something else at the time, my kids will come tell me, I can't finish the homework. Right. And so they recognize the value of it. And so I think a lot of people walking around this kind of live with some aches and pains. And, if you're going to set up a really easy case for me, it's, hey, I have a mild case of low back pain that affects me minimally. Right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty easy. We can come up with some good solutions for that. In most cases, a series of adjustments, like 2 to 3, can help them feel a lot better. And then they realize, wow, I never knew I could feel like this. I didn't know I could feel a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And then I say, well, come in about a month, we'll check it again. Man, I'm not I'm not twisting anybody's arm, but a lot of people find that there's some benefit to a checkup periodically.
Is once a month, would that be a pretty standard?
It's a rule
amount?
of thumb. Yeah, that's a rule of thumb. I've got people that I see less frequently and others that I see more frequently. And usually if they're seen more frequently, it's because they have flare-ups more periodically because of some other health issues.
Is it safe for me to make my kids cross their arms like that and then walk up behind them and then crack their back like that?
Yeah, so the cracking is not really the therapeutic outcome.
It's not.
No.
I feel like every time you say that, he just cringes inside.
You know what?
Well, that's what I'm
this.
wondering. I mean, is he
Keep
cringing
them
like,
coming.
don't do
Keep
that?
them coming because most
Is
of the
it
time,
bad for him?
It's not necessarily bad for them, all right? But what you're doing there, and that might look very like a treatment that you see a chiropractor or somebody else who's licensed in some type of manual treatment. That might look similar to that, but in general, if someone has some type of a spine pain problem, it's from a movement imbalance. There's areas that are moving too much and other areas that are not moving enough. The areas that move too much, interestingly, are likely more the source of pain. All right, so I don't adjust or crack those areas because they're already moving too much. So we feel for the joints that are moving poorly in the wrong amount in the wrong direction. And a lot of times that's the area that doesn't really feel bad. Treat those. It's like if you have a tight muscle, you'd stretch it. Well, you have tight joints on occasion. It's out of balance, and so you apply those treatments. You adjust. You crack those areas. You go through a series of adjustments. 6. Even complicated cases, 6 is usually pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you measure that. That's a therapeutic trial to see how they're feeling. See how they're doing. They're doing a lot better. Great. We'll check it a couple more times and then follow up as needed. That's most cases. And it's kind of like dosing medicines. You can't say, well, what's the one dose that everyone needs for, X disease? The dose is very specific. It's like dosing, loads on a barbell. It's very specific, right? So the treatment doses should be very specific. And if you go somewhere and you have a sense that the treatment recommendation, the dose is not specific, you might want to get a second opinion too.
Yeah.
So those global treatments where you kind of push the whole system, if you twist everything, the first things that click are the looser joints anyway. So that's why if people crack their neck regularly, I say, well, why do you do that? And I say, it feels a bit better. Well, how often you do that? 2 to 3 times a day, maybe. It's going on for months to years. That's a failed therapeutic intervention. It's not supposed to. You're not supposed to be able to do that all the time for no real, progressive benefit.
Will it give you arthritis? Will popping your knuckles give you arthritis? Or did my mom just tell me that because she's tired
of your mom says, if that's what your mom tells you, she's right. She's right.
That's
and if you cross your eyes, they might get stuck like that.
Yep.
So cut it out, kid.
Yep. Got all this hair on my palms, too. Vaughn, do you have any non-cringy questions that you would like to ask him?
I do not.
He's been sitting over here. His nails are all whittled down. I'm just making him more nervous.
I'm sitting here popping my knuckles.
Let me pop your back. Cross your arms. Stand up.
That's a targeted intervention. That's great.
He just told me I can do that, and then he'll fix it. So you're saying I can continue to crack my kid's back, and then you'll handle it from there.
As long as you cover the copays, I'll take over.
Got it.
Yep.
We're out of time, guys.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Brad,
thank you for coming out here.
Thank you
Great
for coming.
questions.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Brad Cole of Cole Pain Therapy Group. If you got any pain, go see him.
186.
Lift Heavy Run Long number
186
is
In the books.
nice job, man. Y'all are so good.